Okay, so let's get back into our coverage over Knightquest. And no, it has been a while, but we're going to go ahead and dive right back into it. Now, this is another two-part story arc in Knightquest where you technically have Batman going up against a new character coming into Gotham City. Now, remember, this is not Bruce Wayne Batman. This is John Paul Valley Batman because thanks to Nightfall, as we saw, Bane broke the back of Bruce Wayne. And so he was no longer able to be Batman. And so it led the door open for somebody else to become Batman, and that gave us John Paul Valley. Now, you fans out there wondering, hey, why not Dick Grayson? Well, it was told to us back in Nightfall that technically Bruce Wayne and Dick were not really on talking terms, and really Dick told Bruce that he is trying to become his own man. And so for that reason, you have Bruce say, hey, Dick is out there on his own. He cannot be Batman, so I got someone else I met earlier, better known as Azrael, but John Paul Valley, to become Batman. So when it comes to Knightquest, we're going to see John Paul be the Batman of Gotham City and see how different characters are kind of reacting to him being the Batman. Now, something else I do want to mention about the character is the whole idea that John Paul Valley was Azrael before he was Batman. Let me explain. So, there was an organization out there known as the Order of St. Dumas. Now, when it came to the Order of St. Dumas around this time in DC Comics, they were still somewhat mysterious. You still have the DC books trying their best to explain everything to us about this organization, but we did learn early on that they were kind of following the idea of this man known as Saint Dumas. Now, with that being said, the whole role of Azrael is to be the angel of vengeance for the actual organization, meaning that if somebody had tried to cross the line when it came to the organization, they would send out their Azrael to make sure that person understands you don't cross the lines with the actual order. Now, when it comes to John Paul, he was not the original Azrael. Really, his father had the mantle at first. Now, his father was not the first, but he was the previous Azrael. But his father made sure that his son, John Paul, would be ready to become the next Azrael by installing the system into his mind. Now, we had learned that technically the system gives him the ability to be up to par when it comes to being the next Azrael, meaning that he has all the fighting skills he needs to be the perfect fighter to go up against his enemies. And so for John Paul, after his dad was, killed off as Azrael, the system was activated. And with the system, well, just like that, he knew everything about the order to a certain point. But also, he had all the fighting skills he needed to make sure to become a good Azrael. Now, right after he did become Azrael, well, Bruce Wayne found him. And Bruce said, hey, you know what? How about this? Don't be an angel of vengeance, but join the Bat family and have a better purpose in life. And that kind of led down the whole path of him becoming the next Batman. And so as we dive into Batman issue number 501, we do pick up with John Paul Valley being confronted by another vision of Saint Dumas, the actual patron that the Order actually believes in, they actually follow. Now for John Paul Valley, he cannot believe that he's being confronted by the actual Saint Dumas, who's telling him like, hey, I want you to no longer be the assassin for the Order. Instead, I kind of want you to be the protector of this city. It's really more of Saint Dumas saying, I need you to prove to me that you actually deserve the role of Batman, to be the actual protector of Gotham. Now, for John Paul, he's kind of wondering, wait a second, is this actually St. Dumas coming to me, or possibly a side effect of the system that was implanted in my mind by my father? Either way, you have John Paul saying, if St. Dumas came to me, that means I have something to do. But now we have to jump over to Don McCanty. Now, Don is one of the many crime bosses in Gotham City. You see, with Batman being able to take down Bane, it kind of left the door open for all these different crime families to try to take over Gotham completely. And so we see Don McCanty meeting up with some of his men at his restaurant after hours. Now, for McCanty, he kind of believes that his rival, Santos Verona, is not going to try to make a move at all. Except he does. He does send over 2 hitmen to actually take out Mercanti. Now, luckily for Mercanti, Batman was nearby, and he actually saw the 2 guys break into the restaurant. And so you have Batman being able to protect Mercanti, but also take down the hitmen from Verona's group. Now, here's the big catch, though. You see, for John Paul, he kind of believes that he can use Mercanti as an inside man to kind of gather information about the other crime bosses. Now, for John Paul being Batman, he's kind of more aggressive, saying like, hey, listen, you are going to be my inside man. And if you try to betray me, just know I know that you are married, which means that if you try to betray me, well, I will then go after your wife. And something else we have to remember that when it comes to John Paul, he's not really trying to work with other heroes in Gotham City, like Tim Drake, who is the current Robin around his time in DC Comics. Because for John Paul, kids just get in the way. Other people get in the way on his mission when it comes to protecting Gotham. And so when you have Tim being able to break back into the Batcave, because this man made sure to seal up all other ways into the Batcave except for one, you have Tim once again trying to explain what the role of Batman truly is, because he sees John Paul kind of slipping and not being the Batman of Bruce Wayne, but his own kind of Batman, a more aggressive Batman who's not afraid to cross the line and possibly kill people if it comes down to it. But John Paul's not trying to listen. Now, you have John Paul meet up with Jim Gordon. Now, while you have the 2 characters meeting, we're kind of reestablishing the whole idea that these 2 characters are not on the same page with one another. Now, for Jim Gordon, he has no idea that this is not Bruce Wayne. He still believes it's the same Batman, not knowing it is a new Batman inside the bat suit. And so for Jim, he kind of like, you know what? Batman has gone through a lot when it comes to Bane, and so he may be a tad bit rougher around the edges. But that's kind of his excuse for Batman. But not knowing that it's really John Paul, and John Paul is just more aggressive than Bruce Wayne was. Either way, you do have Jim kind of explain like, hey, we found those guys you left behind at the last crime scene, and they got pretty beat up by you. Can you calm down? And for John Paul's like, no, like my ways are more effective than Bruce Wayne's ways. But I want to jump back over to Mercanti, because you have Mercanti meeting up with other leaders of crime families in Gotham City. And you have the 3 guys basically talking about what to do with the other crime families, but also Batman, because the other 2 are finding out that Mercanti was, kind of pushing to the idea of being a spy for Batman. But he tells the other 2 families like, no, I'm not going to be a spy for Batman. Instead, I am going to double cross Batman. Now, we already know that is a bad idea, but he wants to try to get rid of Batman. And so he tells the other 2 guys, I hired an assassin to bring down the Bat. Now, this assassin comes from the idea of a group called the Agency. Now, the Agency was like this top secret group where if you were part of some kind of government or huge crime family, and back in the 60s, you could hire them to send over an assassin to take care of your problems. The problem was the agency got exposed by different government groups around the world, especially by Congress here in America. And so they were kind of forced to shut down, except one guy found out that the agency had some kind of drug experiment going on, where with the drugs you could brainwash someone into believing in some kind of idea, some kind of purpose in life. And so this guy believed to use the drugs on himself to brainwash himself to make himself the perfect assassin, but to also believe that he's some kind of crusade for some kind of big mission for a hidden group, even though that hidden group is no longer around. And so he was able to do the experiment on himself, and it actually worked out. And he became a perfect assassin for hire, $1 million per contract. And his name is Mekros. And so you're going to have the crime families of these three guys use Mekros as a way to take out Batman and possibly other crime families as well. Now, for the other two crime families who were there at that meeting alongside with Mercanti, they don't really believe that Mekros is worth the money. $1 million to kill off Batman, but you have Mekros kind of say, listen, I'll kill off one of the crime families that has been coming after you guys to kind of show you that I am worth the money. And so just like that, he goes over to the home of that crime family and kill every single person there. The boss and all the guys who were there trying to protect their boss. And so it's kind of like, hey, he is worth the money, but now his goal is to go after Batman. Now, Batman hears the massacre that had happened to the other crime family by the hand of Mekros. I want to say it's Mekros, not Mekros. So unfortunately, I'm going to change his name. I couldn't find it anywhere online on how to pronounce it. So guys, forgive me. Either way, you do have Batman hear about the massacre of Mekros. And so he heads over to Mercanti, still believing that Mercanti is his spy. But in reality, Mercanti is not his spy. And Mercanti says, I don't know anything about it. Now, while you have the two guys talking, well, you have Mekros trying to take a sniper shot at Batman. Now, Batman was able to get out of the way just in time, but unfortunately, Mercanti got shot and killed. But now we have to focus on the battle between Batman and also Mekros. And so now we jump into Batman number 502. So we do see Batman fighting against Mekros. Now their battle is a very short-lived battle, and the only reason why, because at first Batman has nowhere else to go, because if he tries to move somewhere, well, with Mekros having a sniper, he could easily snipe Batman in one single shot. Now luckily for Batman, he does have a way out by using a light to trick Mekros and then being able to sneak up on behind Mekros to kind of do battle against him. Now, like I said though, the battle is short-lived, and you have the two guys go their separate ways. But before you have the guys go their separate ways, you didn't have Batman say one thing to kind of put doubt in the mind of Mekros by saying, hey, listen, the guys who hired you, they were not really going to pay you. Really, they were going to kill you after you had killed me. Now, that is not technically true, but for Batman, it's a way to figure out who were the other members of the group that had hired Mekros to come after him to hopefully bring them down. Now we jump over to the FBI headquarters where you have these two agents freaking out. And the reason why, because word has gotten out that Mekros has been reactivated. And they have worked very hard to make sure that him being out there would not be well known to the public. And so you have the FBI say, listen, we know he's in Gotham, so go ahead and send out Skyler to go ahead and take care of Mekros. Skyler should be able to handle this kind of job. But now we have to jump over to the other two crime bosses who are left. Now, these two crime bosses, they are talking about what to do with Mekros, because one of them believes that he had killed off Mercanti on purpose, even though we know it was an accident. And the other one believes it is an accident and wants to pay Mekros double to make sure that Batman goes down. But the problem is, while these two guys are talking, Mekros walks in. He's all like, no, I'm going to go ahead and kill every person in this building right now. Because Batman had put the idea of doubt in his mind, this man truly believed that he was going to be betrayed by the crime bosses who hired him. But in reality, he wasn't. And so he does kill off almost every single person in this building except for one. And the last one who's alive is able to give Batman all the information he needs to know about what exactly is going down. The whole idea that they hired Mekros to go after Batman. Now, I want to jump over to Jim Gordon because you have Jim talking to Sarah, his wife. Now, this is Jim still trying to understand what happened to Batman because, like I said, the man changed. He's not how he used to be because, well, it's no longer Bruce Wayne. It's now John Paul Valley, who's more aggressive than Bruce Wayne was. And so for Jim, he's trying to figure out what exactly happened to Batman. Now, for Sarah, it's more of like, hey, things have changed. Gotham has changed. But on top of that, they get a phone call. And this phone call, it kind of goes the idea of how Batman has changed. Because that phone call is the mayor telling Jim, hey, I need you to come over to my office. We have some things to discuss. And one thing really is that it's the Batman. And really, it's the mayor telling Jim Gordon, like, the public for Gotham City is kind of divided, where you have half of the city kind of down with the idea of what Batman has done for the city. Because technically, Gotham has become safer because, well, John Paul's not playing around. You get one free champion criminal, but you try a second time, you might get killed off. And so Gotham's crime rate has dropped down a lot, but the other half of Gotham is not really liking the idea of Batman being around. And so you have the mayor saying, listen, I need you as the head of the GCPD to kind of get your stuff together because right now I need your police department to get the same results as Batman's getting right now when it comes to taking down criminals. If you can't do that, I'm telling you right now, Jim, you might need to find a new job. Now, really, the ending of this book does wrap up very quickly because you do have Skylar, who's working for the FBI, being able to find Mekros. And of course, he tries to bring him down, but you didn't have Batman get involved as well. Skylar is easily taken down, but you did have Batman go after Mekros. Now, those two characters, they do go back and forth for a while, but their battle truly ends when you have Mekros being hung from a meat hook. He's alive, but it kind of shows that John Paul's not playing around. And really, Mekros was on the verge of being sent back home in a body bag. And so we're going to end today's video right here at this point. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.